Okay, last week we discussed about few UX process parts, and also uh, in here UX process part 2 we discussed about color psychology. And today we are going to discuss about color theory, typography, style guide, UX laws, and creating wireframe. So after the break, I will give you the capstone project as well. I will put it on Google Classroom, and we can go through it, and you can get an idea about what you have to do and what you have to submit at the end of the course. And also we are going to do some Figma practicals as well. So let's start with color theory. Okay, what is color theory? I hope everyone can see my screen. Color theory is the collection of rules and guidelines which designers use to communicate with users through appealing color schemes in visual interfaces. So when you are deciding on color scheme, when you are deciding a color for your website, mobile application, or anything, you have to consider this color theory as well, because you have to empathize with your end users, and you have to understand the requirement of the user, and you have to select the colors based on the user's requirement. You have to thoroughly read and uh, understand about users before you uh, think about a color to put on your product. So these are the color, this is the color wheel. So primary colors, as you can see, we have yellow, red, and blue. And secondary color wheel, secondary colors, you can see that the colors in between, red and yellow, the orange color, and even red and blue, the purple color, and uh, blue and yellow, the green color. We have all these colors in secondary color wheel. And in full color wheel, we have a combination of all these. We still have the basic three colors, red, blue, and yellow. And all the colors in between, all the shades in between are filling the complete color wheel. So these are the basic colors and the basic color wheel. Okay, these are color schemes. So based on the color wheel, we can select different colors for our designs. So if we are selecting a one color, we are calling it monochromic. So on here, we are selecting just the yellow color. So we call it monochromic. And analogs is uh, two colors next to one selected color. So if we select yellow color, it can be lighter shade of green and a lighter shade of orange. And if we select some other color from here, let's say we are selecting blue color from here, it can be the purple and the lighter blue. And complementary is one color opposite to each other. So for an example, the diagram shows the yellow color and the purple color. We can say this red color and the green color, and so on. So that is complementary. Split complementary is actually the not the opposite color, but the two colors next to that opposite color. For an example, we have yellow color here and the purple color down below. And the colors next to it are blue and pink color. So you can select that. So if we select this orange color, if we draw the line, the colors next to it are green and this lighter blue color. And the triad, it is actually using in mostly in print industry. So in triad, we have the colors in 120-degree angle. So if we draw a line here and select this yellow color, and we have red and blue. So if we select this color, we have this blue color and this pink color. So you can easily select the colors based on one of these color schemes. And tetradic, we get four colors opposite to each other in a 90-degree angle. You can clearly see from the diagram. So those are the basic color schemes that we use in UI and UI design when we are selecting colors. And there's a difference between RGB and CMYK. I think you already know in graphic designing and also in print designing, you have to use CMYK colors because most of the printers are using that color scheme to print media. So that consists of these colors. So if you do the design in RGB color, let's say for an example, you are designing a leaflet, which is sending to users as an e-flyer, as well as you have to print it as well. So as soon as you design it in RGB color, you have to convert it to CMYK scheme in order to see the colors that you have added, because some of these colors that are working well in RGB won't show up in CMYK. So used in digital media and web media, the RGB, and used for print media, we're using CMYK for print media as well. Specifically, when you have a website or a mobile application that gives user an output, let's say you have a report generation application inside your banking app. So the report we are generating is a PDF. So in that case, you have to make sure you add colors in CMYK scheme. So if you don't add it in CMYK scheme and you use contrasting colors that categorized as RGB colors, it won't show up in the printouts. So that will be an issue. So make sure if it is a print use case, you have to use CMYK colors in your designs. So now we are going to talk about these color schemes in detail. So it is monochromatic actually. It is based on one color with various tones and shades of it. So if you select this yellow color, we can take some other colors similar to that yellow color, some lighter shade or some darker shade, but we are not going to the next color of the color wheel, but we are, let's say, for an example, let's open a file here. Okay, we have this frame, and then I'm going to put yellow color as the background. Now inside this, if you select this yellow color, we can go lighter. So this is a lighter shade. And if we select the same yellow color, if you go more darker shade, it will look like this. And we are not going to go to the orange color yet, but we are changing colors and we are using shades inside that yellow color only. So in monochromatic, the monochromatic harmony is always a winning choice, since it's hard to make a mistake and create a distasteful color scheme. So if you are using one color in a monochromatic color scheme, it won't be that hard for you to select colors. So for an example, let's say we selected this particular yellow color. So you can use any other shades that similar to yellow color as your uh, other accent colors as well. So let's say for an example, we have a website in a background color, the dark background. So this is the dark background. I will change the color to something more darker. So this is the dark background. You can put your main text in this yellow color. This yellow color. And you can uh, make your paragraph in something similar to this or white color. So you can clearly see that the colors are not contrasting. It is easily readable as well. So that is why it is saying that you won't make a mistake when creating, when using monochromatic color. So it won't give you any distasteful color scheme by selecting only one color and its associated shades. So in here, you can clearly see we have a blue color background, and the designer has like choose this light blue color background and also white color as his text color. So you can clearly see it is really nice, and also it gives the message. It is something, the icons are something related to space. So the blue color and the light blue color is matching his concept and what the message he is trying to give. Okay, that's it. That is monochromatic. And we have analogs now. So in analogs, to create analogs harmony, you need to use colors located right next to each other on the color wheel. So as I mentioned, so if we are selecting yellow color, we can select this lighter green and lighter orange color. This is type of color scheme is used for the design where no contrast is needed, including the background of web pages or banners. Okay, if we don't need any contrast between our text or images in our website, we can use analog colors like mentioned in this color wheel. So for an example, in this mobile application, the background color is purple. So in color wheel, we have the it is taking these three colors actually. So we have blue, darker blue as background, and then purple color, and also some shade of pink color as well in the design. So it is not giving us much contrast when comparing to this or some other color scheme choices, but we can use it in different UIs based on the requirement of the user and the branding. These are complementary colors. The complementary scheme is the mix of colors placed in front of each other on color wheel. This scheme is opposite to analogs and monochromatic since it's aimed to produce high contrast. So by selecting two colors next to each other, it produces high contrast in your user interfaces. For example, the orange button on the blue background is hard to miss in any interface. So if you select one of these colors, you can clearly see the difference and the contrast between two colors. So red color is very different to the green color, and the orange color is very different to this color right here, the mint color. So you can clearly see the difference. If you want to maintain a high contrast between your buttons or between your text element or anything, you can use complementary colors. So in here, this particular graphic, they are using the blue color as the background and contrasting color, the yellow, as the foreground color for these illustrations. So you can clearly see the contrast and the you can differentiate these colors easily when selecting complementary color scheme. In split complementary, this scheme works similar to the previous one, but it employs more colors. So in complementary, we only choose this color opposite to the main color we are selecting. And in here, we have colors next to that opposite color. So this scheme works similar to previous but employs more colors. For instance, if you choose the yellow color, you need to take two others which are adjacent to its opposite color, meaning blue and pink. So colors next to this opposite color is taking for the design. The contrast here is less sharp than in complementary scheme, but it allows using more colors. So the contrast is a little different. Actually, it don't have much contrast when comparing to the complementary scheme, but we have the advantage of adding more colors in our designs if we select split complementary. So you can see that this design right here, they are using the yellow color as the background, and also uh, they have selected these two colors as well. So we have green color right here, and then selected colors are red and orange in the background color. Okay, we have triad colors. So when the design requires more colors, you can try triadic scheme. It is based on three separate colors which are equidistant on the color wheel. So it is actually based on three colors in equal distance in the color scheme as well. So if you select this color, the yellow color, as I mentioned, the blue color and red color, we can select these three colors as the triad combination for our website or a mobile application. To save the balance in with this scheme, it is recommended to use one color as a dominant and others as accents. So if you try to use triad color scheme, make sure to use one color as a dominant color. Dominant color means we are using that color more than others. So for an example, let's say we have three colors. If we use one color 33% and another 33 and the next one is 33, it won't give that much of a contrast. So if you use something around one color, let's say yellow color 60% in our design and the other colors 20 and 20, it will give you a good contrast, and it is the recommendation when using a triad color scheme in your design. So in this graphic right here, we have the red color background and we have other colors, purple, orange, as well as green color used in the graphic. It give a good contrast, as well as uh, it is really nice, and you can see the dominance in the colors as well as the background. You can clearly contrast and see the images in the foreground as well. Okay, now we have a double complementary color scheme. The tetradic color scheme is for the experienced designers, since it is most difficult to balance. So if you are selecting more colors, more than 2, 3 colors, you have to balance the colors. Otherwise, the design won't look nice. So if you have experience, uh, if you have like experience doing projects for many years, so doing so many projects within an year, where you have to come across selecting different colors for different users, different use cases, you can go to this double complementary color scheme as well. But you have to make sure you maintain the right balance between the colors as well. It employs 4 colors from the wheel, which are complementary pairs. If you connect the points on the chosen colors, they form a rectangle. So if you connect these corners, it will form a rectangle. The scheme is hard to harmonize, but if you do everything right, the result may be stunning. So even though it is really hard to balance those 4 colors, but if you do it properly, the results will be really good. So in here, we have an example. We have a quiz website or a online educational website where they are using different colors for the cards. So it is somewhat colorful, but for the use case, let's say for a student who is studying for an exam, or a student who tried study something from their phone, it is something really nice for them to look into and select. So they can clearly see that the first level is in red color and the other levels are, the colors are changing in different categories as well. So you have to make sure you are selecting the correct colors and balance them properly when you are using it in your UI. So these are some tools that we can use to select colors. So if I open one by one, I will add them on Google Classroom as well. So you can generate color palettes. So you can see other people's color palettes so in different websites, uh, and start generating your own color schemes for your designs. So this is one color scheme and so on. You can easily click this and get the hex code as well. And next one, this is material design, Google's material design guidelines for selecting colors. So in the color system, material design color system, they have all these colors. So these are the basic colors, and they are names that you are using in material design. The primary color is this primary variant and secondary variant. So you when you are creating a design, you have to create a color scheme as well. So in that case, you have to create a diagram similar to this in order for users or your co-designers to get the colors and do their designs as well. So if we go to something like Tailwind, it has more color choices. So it has different color scheme. So if you put slate and 50 in your CSS class, it will show you this color and so on. So if you are into coding or CSS or front-end development, it is a good practice to use these tailwind colors as well. All right. So this is another application where we can select colors for our app, mobile app or our design. So it is actually not working. I will correct the URL in our Google Classroom. All right. Now we talked about color, different color shades and different colors in color wheel. Is there any questions? Okay, now we are going to talk about gradients in UI design. So as users, we all like gradients. So if we see gradients in design, uh, using gradients, designers can. So if you see gradients in our design, it is really, let's say you have a plain layout in uh, your mobile application or anything. But if it has a gradient as a foreground color or in a stickers or in any element, it stands out from the rest. So most of the users like these gradients. So that is why we are having separate part for gradients in the presentation as well. And using these gradients, you have to be careful as well. So if you are using a gradient, let's say in this kind of a background, you have to make sure you are using a correct gradient. Let's say I have a website, the background color is white, like this. So I want to create a button. So if I create a button, let's change the font size to 16, and I'm going to call it sign up. And this is the button text. So I'm going to put it inside a frame and give it some padding. Let's change the background color for this one. 20, 20. So this is the padding, and I'm going to change the border radius as well. 10. So this is my button, and I'm going to change the font color to white. So if I add a gradient here to this color using Figma, we can do by using this. You have to always make sure you follow the same angle in your all elements. Let's say if you are selecting using this kind of angle in your first button and another angle when you are hovering over it, it won't be a uniform design. So let's say we are selecting two different colors. I'm going to select this red color as the first color, and the second color I'm going to select this blue color. The first color is this. I increase the opacity of this color. So this is mostly used two different gradients. So you can clearly see the gradients they are using colors complementing with each other. For an example, I used this purple color or magenta color with blue color. So if you select something completely different, for an example, let's say the first gradient is uh, green color and the second gradient is this red color, it don't look that much, it don't give that much of a contrast, and also it is not really nice when comparing to the button on top. So you always have to make sure you are selecting right combinations when you are doing your gradient designs in the uh, application or a mobile app or a website. Using gradients, designers can make bold statements. So if you can see in the Instagram logo, they are using color combinations starting from this blue color and the yellow color, purple color, and to the pink color. So they are using that kind of a gradient in the website. Gradients help create something new and unexpected. So users come if when users come across this kind of a gradient layout, uh, it is something new to them. It is contrasting, and also they give their attention to that particular part of the website. So it is as for this example, we are showing you a logo, but you can use it for call to action buttons and also icons as well, depending on your requirement and the use case. Even on tiny elements such as a logo can be exciting if you apply a gradient to it. So if you apply a gradient to a logo, it can be exciting. All right. By using gradient, we can empathize certain elements. If you take a look at the website below, text message and call to action button plays a key role in this layout. The gradient, background, visibility prioritize these elements. So call to action buttons and this text, it is contrasting when we have background color gradient. So another website that using background color gradient really well is Stripe actually. So if you go to Stripe website, you can clearly see the gradient animation background, and we have all these call to action buttons and the logo and everything. It is contrasting, and you can users can easily read these text and give their attention to the call to action buttons and the left hand side of the screen without an issue. So usage of this gradient is actually working for this website. Gradients are perfect when you need to draw people's attention to a certain area. So as you know, when users visiting your website or a mobile application, the first area that they are looking into is left-hand side top of your website. That is coming, even if you're trying to read a book, the first part of the uh, attention area of your book is left-hand side top. So that is how it is coming to digital world as well. So you have to make sure that you give your messages, give your message, uh, most prominent message on left-hand side top of your website. So that is the first part that users can in your website or mobile application. So that is why using gradients are important, and you can get people's attention to the most wanted parts, like the name and the description, as well as call to action button placed in left-hand side top of your design. Learn basic types of gradients. So we have linear gradient. To create a linear gradient, you need to specify two colors or two tints in one color. So in here, we have a linear gradient. So I have specified two colors in this gradient. So you can see the purple color as well as the blue color. This is where I specified the purple color and the blue color. So, and radial gradients are similar to linear gradients, except they are radiate out from a central point. As a designer, you can dictate where that central point should be and specify the size of the gradient. So if we change the color from linear to radial, so it will look like this. So you can see that it is coming from a center point of your design. So if I change the uh, button to a square, so you can see it is coming from a center point, and starting color is pink color, and we have purple color in both sides. So that is radial colors. A conic gradient is similar to a radial gradient. Both are circular and use the center of an element as a source point for color stops. However, for a radial gradient, the color stops emerge from the center of the circle, while a conic gradient places color stops around the circle. So if you use this conic gradient here in Figma, I'm using the same one. Let's rename it as In Figma, it calls angular. So if you select that particular color, you can clearly see the contrasting line between these two. You can change it to wherever you want, and you can keep it here as well. So that is the angular or conic gradient. And finally, we have another gradient in Figma, which is diamond. So it will give you a diamond shaped gradient where you can change the colors as well. So you can change the rotation of your diamond as well as you can change one axis and sizes of your gradient as well by using this diamond shaped gradient. So those are the four basic gradients Figma supports. All right. These are some tips for creating impressive gradient. It says don't choose colors randomly. So as you can see, even in the design, I selected this green and red color. So it is not a really good combination of colors for the gradient, and it looks dirty as well. It is better to use either analog colors that are next to each other on the color wheel, or shades of the same color. So if we use this particular layout for an example, let's say I'm going to take the same colors that mentioned here. All right. So these are the two colors that they have in the presentation as well. So it is better to use either analog colors that are next to each other on the color wheel, or shades of the same color, shades of the blue. So as I mentioned, even in this example, it is always good to use colors similar to each other. In this example, I used purple color and uh, darker shade of purple. And also in here, we have blue color and lighter blue color. So it is really a nice gradient when comparing to this one. Create smooth transition. The transition between colors should be really smooth. Ideally, the user shouldn't notice the place where one color flows into another. So if you go to this example right here, I'm going to hide the text, and you can't see that where is the color difference is happening, where the dark blue color ends, where the light blue color starts. You can't see the difference uh, by looking into this gradient. So it is a good practice. So take a look at the following example. You can notice a line that separates two colors. This line creates the impression of an abrupt transition. So if it is not smooth, so let's say for an example, you have this kind of a layout, and uh, in the middle also, you put another color. Now you can see a difference. The color transition is not that smooth. So that is not a good user experience for your users. So you always have to make sure your color transitions are smooth, and uh, it, it is easy to eye for your users as well. That is about create smooth transition. So convey emotion or mode. Color evokes emotional responses. We can use this color property to connect with the audience on deeper level. So if you use bright, bold colors, stir positive feelings. Specifically, this kind of a color scheme, it resembles the sunlight. So it is actually positive, give user positive feelings about his experience on the website. So in here, this user interface, we are using the background as orange color, and we have different shades of that orange color as the foreground card layout. So it is giving some positive feelings for users, the bold experience and positive feelings for users when they're using this kind of a background. Deep tones bring calm. So if you use these kind of a deep tones in your design, colors next to each other and shades next to each other in color wheel, it will uh, bring calm to the users who using your application. You can see the colors in here. They're using the blue color because it is something related to uh, flight booking. So they use that blue color and they use dark blue and light blue as a gradient in their UI design. All right. Okay, next we have try to avoid acid colors. So acid in its original context referred to a bitter taste. Acid colors rarely work well in user interfaces because they demand too much attention. So if you don't have solid design skills, it's safer to avoid using them in your UI, specifically when you're using a gradient. Design a gradient. So if I take this image from here and put it in my design, let's say I'm going to put it here and let's put some text on it. So you can clearly see it is really hard to read, even if I bold the text and change the size, have a larger size. Let's see by changing the color. It is hard to read when comparing uh, to the background with a lighter shade or a different uniform color scheme. So if you using acid colors, you have to make sure your foreground elements should be readable and easily uh, contrastable with the background as well. So acid colors rarely work well in user interfaces because they demand too much attention. So in here, all the attention that users trying to give is getting from the background rather than the message we are trying to give them. So if you don't have solid design skills, it's safer to avoid using them in your UI, specifically when you design a gradient. So if you are uh, using a gradient, if you're designing a gradient, avoid using these colors, the acid colors in the color scheme. Use gradient to direct the eye to a certain part of the screen. You can use a gradient to create focal points. It's specifically helpful for small elements such as call to action buttons. So in the example I showed you, they are trying to get our attention to this area where they have their main message by having a animated design in the background. The focal point of this design is somewhere here. So even the colors are changing. You can clearly see the color contrast and the color combination makes us to look into that particular area. So that is a good example of that using a focal point and using gradient to direct user's eye to a certain part of the screen. Even here in this UI, you can see that this button has a gradient accent to it. So if users looking into this particular screen, the first thing they notice or they give attention to is this add to cart button. So that is a good user experience if users want to add this to cart and fine tune or streamline their user experience within the application. And also don't forget about color contrast. No matter how beautiful your design is, you shouldn't forget about accessibility. Always check the color contrast ratio. So if you create your button nicer like this and have a good gradient to it, and you forget to change, like look for a contrast ratio in your design. Let's say I'm going to put this color this color as my foreground text color. So it is not contrasting, it is not readable as well. So even for the people who don't have visual impairment, it is hard to read. So if you use the color we had earlier, the white color, it is really contrasting and easily readable for every user as well. So when you are doing your design, you have to make sure that you do your design for everybody. So you have to consider accessibility as well. So in accessibility, we have to take into our consideration the users with different visual impairments. So they won't be able to see all the colors in your design. So that is why it is really important. And also in Figma and in any other website, there are tools that we can check our contrast ratio and readability, accessibility of our designs, how users with visual impairments can see your screen. So those are good things to consider when you are doing a design. So you can use these designs to create contrasting gradients or create gradient colors. So these are some colors that you can use in your designs. I will put those in Google Classroom as well. Here, so we have UI gradients, and you can create your UI gradients based on by using different colors, and copy those hex codes and do your designs as well. So it supports different colors, and you can select one of these if you need gradients on your design. All right. Any questions? All right. Dark mode. Actually, we discussed about dark mode last week as well, but in here we are going to go in more detail. What exactly is a dark mode first? A dark mode is a night-friendly color theme that mainly focuses on using dimmed gray colors for surface and UI elements. Darker colors reflect less light while still providing a great reading experience. So if I go to a website like Dribble, let's say, and search for dark mode. So these are some dark mode designs. So you can clearly see most of them are optimized for mobile screens, because those are the devices that most of the users, actually 70 to 80% of users are coming to your website or using internet are mobile users. So most of these designs are for the mobile application, and some of them are for dashboards as well, but most of them are for mobile application. The dark mode is a necessary feature in nowadays, because it supports the system. Even in iOS, they have system support for dark mode, and even for the Android, and also for the devices such as Windows computer, desktop computer, Macintosh or anything. It supports dark mode, even Linux. A design pattern. A dark mode is usually living across the user interface as a toggle. The dark mode is a designed to be supplemental to the system's default or light theme. So if you go to your computers, or if you go to your mobile phone settings, you can clearly see that there's a setting for the dark mode, separate setting. So in here I have auto, dark and light. So if I turn the light mode on, everything will be light in lighter color scheme. So we can use the same thing in our websites as well by using media queries. So for an example, let's go to this website, and it is loading as a dark color theme because my system prefer the dark color. So if I change the color to light, it will change the color to light color theme. So you can create media queries based on the color scheme the system supports and change the color of your application or a mobile application or website based on that color change. I'm going to put back to the auto and then, all right. Dark theme is a good marketing move for making your UI stand out among similar brand or products. The deep, heavy backgrounds can become a perfectly addition to your brand visuals. Dark theme is a good marketing move for making your UI stand out among similar brands or products. All right. So if you're using a dark color theme, it will help you to stand out among your similar brands or products. For an example, we took a use case of Spotify last week. So when Spotify came into market, most of the mobile uh, streaming MP3 or music streaming application had a white color background or a more traditional UI when comparing to Spotify, actually, I'm sorry. So, for an example, competitors were Apple Music or even Google Music Store or any other application. They had this kind of a traditional background, traditional music player. But Spotify came up with a background, black color background and one accent color, the green accent color, which dominated the market. And actually, they are leading the market right now when considering music streaming applications or platforms online. Dark mode as a feature can help reduce eye strain while operating your product. Specifically, if your product is heavy with text, a dark mode can help enhance your users' retention and focus. So as a users who are using mobile applications at the night time or when the lights are off, it is a good practice to use it in a dark mode. Most of the mobile phones or any device you are using supports auto mode where it gives you the light color theme in the daytime and the dark color theme at the night time. So that is actually really good for your eyes. Actually, it reduces the eye strain and also uh, in the productivity basis, if you try to read some text in a light color background, at the night time, it is it will give you an eye strain. It will actually hard for read for you as well. So by using this black color background and lighter text to match that black color background, it will increase the readability as well. So you know the product that Amazon Kindle. So when they try to launch that application, when they were launching, they use the similar background as we have in our books, white color background and black color text. But after some time, they realize most of the users are trying to read these books in the night time as well. So they came up with a black color background and somewhat gray color text in the foreground. So that increases the usage of that particular device as well as it was easier for users to read in that kind of a background when they don't have uh, lights, light zone or in the night time. And it will enhance the user's retention and focus as well. Dark mode can potentially save your phone energy. So as I mentioned earlier, so if you're using dark color scheme in your mobile screen, the in your screen area, there are so many lights like diodes. So if we are using light color theme as our screen's main theme, the system has to light up all these uh, bits, pixels. So that consumes so much of energy. But if you are using default dark mode, it don't have to light up all the pixels in your screen, but it only have to light up certain pixels that you have contrasting colors. Let's say you have white color text. So only that particular part has to be lighted. So that saves energy as well. Dark mode consumes 6 times less power on your screen by emitting less light and as a result can prolong your app lifespan and usage time. So it is helping your device as well by saving your battery, and also as a user you can use it without any distraction, or uh, it prolong your app's lifespan and usage time as well. So if you're using like if you're developing application with this dark color UI, and let's say on another case we have a light color UI, and uh, we are sending it to users as well. When comparing the user statistics, you will be able to see that the usage rate and the time they are spending on your dark color application is higher when comparing to the uh, website or application with a light color theme. Healthier to read against dark surfaces. So as it is similar to this eye strain uh, problem mentioned here, it is healthier to read in dark surfaces. So if you are trying to look into a screen for a longer hours, it will give you eye strain. But if you have a dark surface, it won't give you that much of a issue. You can focus and you can look into those screens for hours and it won't be an issue. All right, next one is plan your color use. Avoid or limit white or pure black colors. You can use pure black as a background for dark mode. Okay, now if you're using colors in your dark mode or a dark mode UI, so try to use black color as your background color, not as any other accent color or anything. And even here, we have a dark, like black color background, and we have a text in white color, the paragraph text in different color, and the heading text in white color. So it will give you the contrast, and you can clearly see that this uh, white color hash FFF, the hex code will take some energy from your screen because they have to light up the whole pixel. But in this color, the gray color, I don't have to light up the whole pixel. So it saves energy as well. And you have to plan your color use before you deciding your dark mode uh, in your designs. So brand your dark color. To make your dark mode more unique, use much darker version of your primary brand color as the surface. So if you are using uh, this kind of a dark color, so let's say for an example, this is a blue color and it's very dark shade of that particular blue color. So if you have a accent color in your website in blue color, in a light version of your website, it is a good practice to use a darker version of that particular color as a background in your design. So it will give you a more unique feeling in your darker version on a website, and you can use your primary branding color as well. Reduce color saturation. Avoid fully saturated colors in dark mode. So you can see that in left-hand side design, the fully saturated blue color is, you can't even see the edges of that particular button. And even the green color button, online icon, you can't see the difference between the edges and the foreground and the background surface of your design. But when you have this kind of a color, less saturated color, you can see the boundaries of that button and the menu item as well. And even the online icon, you can see the difference, and it is easy to eye as well. So because it is less saturated, and it will help you to uh, create a contrast between those elements and define the boundaries of these elements as well. Next thing we can do is we can communicate depth. Use a scale of lighter colors to translate the elevation. Avoid using shadows in dark mode. So if you are using this kind of a borders, let's say for an example, starting from here, lower elevation, where we have black as our background color, and as a border, we are using black color here. And in the background, we have this much lighter background, uh, black color, and we are using border to show the depth in our buttons or the elements, and even here as well. So if you want to show up higher elevation, if you want to show the more depth in your, let's say, z-axis in your design, you have to use background color, more lighter background color, and this kind of a border color to uh, demonstrate higher elevation in your designs. All right. Ensure your dark mode contrast. Okay, dark mode, just as a light, should meet the minimum required WCAG standards to ensure all text is legible with enough contrast. So this is one of UI UX standards. So let's, it is actually accessibility standards. There are certain accessibility standards. Even in Europe, they have different accessibility standards, and also in US they have different. So this is something that all you can follow and all the people can follow to maintain accessibility for all of your users. So if you read this article, I will put it in your Google Classroom as well. You will be able to get an idea about what is accessibility and how we can create an accessible product for all users by including everyone. So there are some guidelines and how to put images, what are the colors you should use, what color combinations you should avoid. So those are the things that you will be able to learn by referring to this particular article. So you can avoid those things that they are saying to avoid in your next design and use what they are preferring. You can use plugins to check your contrast design right in place. So in Figma, if you search for a plugin, let's say for an example, manage plugins, and let's type for accessibility. So here we have different plugins that we can use to check our accessibility. Contrast ratio between text and typography, text and background color, and so on. So you can use one of these tools to check your contrast ratio as soon as you do the design. In the same time you do the design as well. So in here you can clearly see this particular uh, design on your left hand side is not that much of a contrasting color scheme. So in the right hand side, you can clearly read the text and the body text, even though it is the same design and with a different color shade in the background. But even though it is a good practice to do your designs in dark mode, it is always a good practice to start your designs in light mode first. So while bringing your designs from light to dark mode, keep all the visual cues in place. Don't ignore or remove some colors for the sake of dark mode theme, not to confuse users. So as I mentioned earlier, if you try to design using dark mode first, it won't give you that much of a freedom when comparing to the white color artboard or a white color frame when you try to design. So as a student, so as kids also, we used to design on white color paper. So that is same thing applies on this digital products as well. So it is always a good practice to start off with white color background and lighter theme, and then after you complete that lighter theme, you can translate those designs to dark mode in your designs. So these are some plugins that you can use to convert your light color theme to dark mode theme. So appearance, dark mode magic, and for the sketch app, we have this particular application. So if you do your light color theme and then give them the colors that you use need to use in your background as dark mode, it will give you a version in dark mode as well. So it will be easy for you to do your designs in dark mode without an issue. So if you compare these two designs, so this particular design have both light and dark modes. So in light color mode, we have you can clearly see the contrast. It is really good light color design as well as a dark mode design as well. So it uses white as a background color in here, the black color shade as a background color, actually the gray 700 as a background color, and also for the foreground element they are using contrasting colors, so it is increasing the readability as well. So you can follow this kind of a color scheme in Tailwind and get these hex codes easily if you actually without creating your own color shades. It is a good practice to use this kind of a color library, color palette to do your designs easily. Okay, next one, use base colors to design dark mode. To make it predictable, turning a light themed UI to a dark side, use a set of base or neutral colors with the same transparency value from the very start of your project. So when you do your light color theme, uh, when you are setting your base colors, even for you to use these kind of plugins, you have to set your base colors. For an example, let's say uh, you have these colors in your light color theme, and these are the colors that you are using in your dark color theme. So these are base light colors, these are base dark colors. So for the base light colors, we are using white color, pure white for text, and this is the base dark color, text color. And for the background, we are using this color in light color text. And you have to make sure you change like the opposite color for your dark mode as well. And the next one is don't overuse dark mode. If you are making a product for a Mac Windows users, it is a good to adapt your product theme to sync with the user's current theme automatically. This can help users to feel at home, making a great first impression. So as I mentioned, we can do something like this. So this is getting the system's default background color and changing based on it. So for an example, if I change the color from here, it will change the color of our design as well. So it is a good practice when users have their setting on, they expect their websites and every element to behave in a similar way. If they turn on dark mode, it should be dark mode in every website or every application they use. If you give it in a light mode, it will distract them and disappoint them. So make sure to use uh, automatic color theme in your website or a mobile application as well. So these are some useful resources you can use to learn more about dark mode. So if I open this, this is material design dark theme. So mostly when comparing material design and Tailwind, Tailwind is most widely used nowadays. So if I go to dark mode in Tailwind as well, so you can clearly see the contrasting colors. They even have CSS class called dark colon and the background color you want to put. So if you are into front-end development or HTML CSS, you can easily follow Tailwind documentation and create really nice designs, front-end designs as well. Okay. In Dribble, you can search for dark UI. So it will give you many designs that users already done and showcase in their portfolio as dark designs. So some of these are for mobile applications, some of these are for data visualization, dashboards, and so on. So depending on your use case, you can search for dark UI for let's say for an example, a hotel dark UI or a flight booking dark UI. You can search for it and get some inspiration for from the designs that already uh, in Dribble or Behance or even Google. Figma tokens, a plugin help customize and adapt your design system to multiple themes. So it is another plugin that we can use to change our color theme. Let's say you already have a design in your Figma, and you have a button color, you have a certain heading color, paragraph color. So what will this plugin will do is it is helping you to select these colors and change all the colors and see the difference if you select different color themes. And another plugin is contrast. It helps to check the contrast ratio of background and foreground elements if your screen. So it is a good accessibility tool that you can use in your designs. All right, that is all about dark mode and colors. Now we are going to discuss about typography. Any questions? Okay, typography is a design discipline that involves the use of typefaces and organization of those typefaces to create readable, usable, and ideally user-friendly interfaces or experiences. So if I go to our classroom, okay, I have added this tool, the type scale. Okay, so as a UX designer or UI designer, you have to consider your typography, the typeface you are choosing for your designs as well. So certain companies has different typefaces. It is under their branding guideline as well. So if you take for an example, let's say bank in Sri Lanka. So you can see that they are using similar typeface in every design. Even for the digital media advertisement and for the print media, they are using same font for same typefaces, same colors. So they are maintaining a branding guideline which has typography. These are the typefaces we are using. Some of these companies have their own like customized typefaces, whereas some of these companies are using open source Google typefaces as well. So as a designer, you have to have a good understanding about the typefaces, what this typeface will recommend, uh, what is the message they're trying to give, what are the different typefaces, sans serif, and so on. So typeface, also known as a font family, a word typeface comes from a physical print and refers to a faces of physical letter blocks. The typeface is composed of fonts. So if I go to Google Fonts, so these are some fonts that Google provides. We put filters, you can see that there are different decorative strokes for the colors and languages as well. So if we select serif, it will show all the serif fonts and, and sans serif. So most of the applications, if you are designing your application for uh, how many users in, let's say, corporate world, you should use sans serif font, some typeface from sans serif font. So this kind of font also kind of decorative. You can use that for headings if you're using developing a website for an agency or a company that has this kind of typeface. You can use that. So classification also we have display fonts, handwritten fonts, monospace, and so on. So let's say monospace is kind of like this code inspired text. So you can go to Google Fonts and try to select one of these fonts and do your designs next time. Most of these fonts are included in Figma as well. So if you select a font from here, let's say Playfair Display, and if I type the same font here, it is available on Figma as well. So almost all the fonts that is in Google is available on Figma. But if you want to add some custom fonts to Figma, what you can do is you can download the Figma application. You can't do it on web version. You have to download it and install this font in your local computer and use that font on your design. But it is not a good practice to use your custom fonts in design, because the user, let's say you are sending it to some other designer or developer, he also have to follow the same procedure and download the font and install it in their computer as well. So it is a good practice to use Google Fonts or any other cloud-based font service for your design as well. All right. So these are typefaces. So let's open one of these. Let's open this. This is a font name. This is the paragraph they are giving us to weave the font. These are some variants of the font. It has a regular 400, italic, medium, and so on, and semi-bold, bold, and finally the black version. So these are some paragraphs that you can see. So if you type a text here, it will show you the text in it will show you the text that you typed in that particular font face design. You can read one of these articles as well, what to consider when choosing a font, and learn about typefaces from Google articles as well. So these are some commonly used font faces in design, but even though these are like commonly used, you can go for more novelty or more advanced fonts by using Google Fonts as well. Okay, fonts are specific weights within a typeface. You choose a typeface, you use a font. So this typeface is actually this. The typeface name is Playfair Display, and fonts inside are these. It has different thicknesses and so on. Some of them are italic, some of them are bold, and so on. So if you select Georgia as your typeface, then Georgia bold, italic, and regular would be your fonts. Inside typeface, we have fonts. Character and individual element, most commonly a single letter, number of punctuation mark. So inside the typeface, we have fonts. These are the fonts. And inside those fonts, we have character. So capital H is a character, E is a character, and so on. Weight, height, and size. This refers to the thickness, length, and overall size of a typeface. You can experiment with different weights and sizes and use the variance judiciously on your interface to break the monotony on a long passages of text or to direct attention to a specific elements. So if you have a text content, like hierarchy of text, let's say you have a heading first and then a paragraph. So if you change the paragraph text size to 14 or let's say 12, you can see the hierarchy. The heading has a different size and it has a black text, like bold text, and paragraph has normal regular text, and uh, you can differentiate your typeface from the users. For an let's say when users trying to read your paragraph or interface, they first read the heading and they get an idea, and then if they like to read more, they can read the paragraph as well. So you can uh, show them the difference by using different typefaces or different sizes or different thicknesses of text in your paragraphs and typography when you are using it in your designs. Letter spacing or tracking. So let's uh, open. So these are some dummy text libraries that we can use to uh, do our design. So I'm going to copy this paragraph and let's create a text object here, and I pasted it right here. Okay. All right. Now we have weight, height, and size. So if we change font weight, we can change it from here. The medium, semi-bold, black, extra black, those are the font weights. So I'm going to keep it in regular. The size is this. You can change the font size. So the regular normal size is 12. So actually this tool, I want to mention it to you, this one. So if you try to do a design and let's say you have a body like company website that there you have to add so many text. There are so many text content as well. So if you select your base size, text base size, let's say 12 pixels, it will give you the all sizes of your text. What should be the size of your uh, heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, and smaller sizes. So it is really easy for you to do your designs. So you can select different typefaces as well. So I already added this design and you can use it when you are doing a design. So it is more customizable than this Google fonts layout. So you can use it uh, when selecting a font for your designs. All right, weight, height, and size. So you know that already that even in the text processors, we have these layouts like uh, line height. You can change the line height by using this. And in Figma, it is a good practice to keep it as auto. So it will give you like optimal line height for your texts. And you can change the paragraph spacing as well. If you have more than one paragraph, you change the paragraph spacing to 10, it will give you some space between those two paragraphs as well. Okay. Then we have letter spacing, the distance between the widest point of each character. Tracking specifically refers to the uniform increase or decrease in the horizontal space between characters. So if you change the tracking by using this line spacing, you can see that in the horizontal x-axis, the space between the characters are changing. So if you put it back to 0, it will give you the optimal spacing between in y-axis, x-axis as well. Alignment refers to the how text is positioned. There are 4 main alignments: left, right, centered, and justified. In Figma also, we have left, centered, right, and also justified in here. So this is justified text. I'm going to put back text alignment. So if it must have some other tools as well, like resizing. So it is good for uh, responsive design actually, and also auto height. So it is basically taking the height of the content you already have. So you can change that as well. And in decoration, we have underline, stripe through, and also you can choose uppercase, lowercase, title case, and uh, small caps as well for the supported fonts. And vertical trim. So you can use one of these and uh, try to play around Figma typography as well. So in truncate text, we can tell how many text, how much text that we should display in our design. So let's say we have, you can see that it is only showing this part. It is truncating. So I'm going to change back to the normal. Okay. All right. Typography principles. Okay, these are some principles that you should follow when you are using typefaces in your designs. Keep the number of fonts used at a minimum. Using more than 3 different fonts make a website look unstructured and unprofessional. Keep in mind that too many type sizes and styles at once can also wreck any layout. So if you're using so many fonts, so many typefaces in your design, uh, it won't give you a good aesthetics in your design in the first place. And also for the users, the readability is decreasing. And also it will, if you're using fonts from a CDN, content delivery network, or a cloud server, it will slow down your website as well. So always make sure you are using one or two typefaces in your design. Let's say for this design, I use heading in this typeface, play fair display. And for the text, we are using inter. So make sure maximum two designs, two typefaces. So if you can use one typeface, it is also good. It is actually based on the use case. So how to get fonts from Google? I think you already know that. Let's say, okay, the first font I'm selecting is, let's say, Inter for my body text. So if I select this, we can select what the uh, text that we need. All right. And then for the headings, I'm going to select that play fair display. This one, get font. And if you go to get embedded code, it will show you the code that you have to put on your HTML file, CSS file, how to uh, make it dynamic and so on. So these are the fonts that it is choosing. So you can see that in the code, we have fonts that Google APIs, then font family, the Inter, and this one's family play fair display, and the sizes we want 400, 900, bold, or anything. So you can customize your fonts based on that as well. Here you can customize what is the fonts that you require. So it will only take that font from the CDN, Google CDN. So make sure to use maximum two font faces if you really need to, but it is a good practice to use one typeface as well. You can change the thickness, you can bold your headings and have normal text, medium text in your paragraphs by using one particular typeface. And also try to use standard fonts. Font embedding services like Google Web Fonts or Adobe Typekit have a lot of interesting fonts that can give your design something new, fresh, and unexpected. So what can go wrong? Actually, this approach has one serious problem. Interesting fonts can distract users from reading. Users can spend time thinking about the font that designers use rather than reading the text. Okay, so let's say we have so many fonts in this Google library as well. So if you are using decorative font like this one, or even for your okay, Nadika is asking a question. Some font doesn't support certain web browsers, right? So if you use Google Fonts, will this problem occur? So that will happen if you try to host your fonts in your local server or in your hosting service. For an example, let's say you have a font and the fonts are come with some extensions. We have TTF, WOF, WOF2, and so on. So if you don't have all these extensions, let's say you only have TTF extension of certain font, and the browsers we have like Chrome supports all these extensions, and Firefox is also support all of these extensions, and for some cases Apple don't support, the Safari browser don't support some of these extensions as well. So in that case, the self-hosted or the font that you uploaded to your server won't display in that particular browser or mobile browser or Safari or even Brave browser or anything, or even Microsoft Edge. Some fonts don't support. The best thing that you can do is you can use this kind of a CDN, content delivery network, where they have all these uh, extensions of fonts. For an example, in Google, if you use Google CDN as your font, it supports all these font faces. And even though you are using any browser, any outdated browser or anything, it is directly loading from the cloud. So it has, it takes that, it make your job easier. So you don't have to worry about finding all these extensions. You can just use Google Fonts or a typekit fonts in your design. So that will solve the issue for you. Is that clear? Okay, cool. And then, okay, actually this approach has one serious problem. Interesting for okay. We talked about that. And as a good practice, let's say mostly use readable font nowadays. You can, if you go here, and it's most popular. So these are the most readable fonts when comparing to others. So the Roboto and Open Sans and even these fonts, Lato, Inter, those most popular fonts used in other websites are the most readable fonts. You can clearly see the difference. Let's say uh, go to Nibus fonts. So these fonts, these kind of fonts are not that much of readable. Those are kind of like decorative fonts you can use uh, in a graphic or anything, not for the website or where you expect your users to read your content. Limit line length. Having the right amount of characters on each line is a key to readability of your text. It shouldn't be your design that dictates the width of your text. It should also be a matter of legibility. So if you have a design with longer text in your design, let's say, okay, in here, let's say we have text in whole screen, like from here up until here. So that won't be really nice, and it will decrease the readability as well. So in here, the Stripe team, they have maintained the white space and they have put really nice animations as well. And they also, it don't dictate, like the typography don't dictate the interface. It is there, but you can still read it, and it is minimum when comparing to the ratio of typography and images. They are balancing it really nicely. All right, you should have around 60 characters per line if you want good reading experience. Having the right amount of characters on each line is key to the readability of your text. Let's say, as I mentioned, we have longer lines of text here. So it will decrease your readability because most of us have like we can only remember certain amount of words. I think it's something around 6 to 7. So that is the maximum cognitive load that we can have in a second, or when we read a book or when we read an article or anything. So always make sure you have to consider those as well. So if you read up until here, it is around 6 to 7 sentences, not sentences, the words, and make sure to maintain that as well. So it will give users ease of their cognitive load as well as increase the readability of your design. Here we have mentioned that this text is too narrow. So we are not using our white space or a real estate of our website nicely and productive way. And this is the ideal range, 40 to 60 characters. So if we have 40 to 60 characters, it will give us space to add 6 to 7 words, maximum 8, 10 words. So it is the ideal range for you to put on your website. It will ease the readability of your users as well. So these are too wide. So users won't be able to read and remember all these things when they finish reading. So this is the ideal range and you should follow that as well. So when considering mobile devices, this is for desktop devices. When considering mobile devices, you should go to 30 to 40 characters per line. So because it has a lesser real estate when comparing to the desktop screen size. So below is an example of two sites we on a mobile device. The first uses 50 to 75 characters per line, optimal number of characters per line for the printing desktop, while the second one uses optimal 30 to 40 characters. So you can see the news article on the left hand side. It is really hard to read even for the users with a good view. Actually, this is not mobile optimized. So if you optimize your designs on mobile, it will give you this kind of a layout. So you can easily read and understand what it is all about. So if you try to read this, it will give you a hard time. You can't have to zoom in and read, and you have to remember what you already read and where were you, and so on. So this kind of layout with a minimum number of, with the ideal number of characters in horizontal axis will be ideal for designs with so many readable content, text content. All right, let's take a 15-minute break. Actually, it's 10:40 now, and let's meet at 10:55. Okay, welcome back everyone. Okay, we were talking about typefaces and how to put paragraphs in a horizontal axis to optimize and increase the readability of those texts. So choosing a typeface that works well in various sizes. Users will access your site from devices with different screen sizes and resolutions. Most user interfaces require text elements of various sizes, button copy, field labels, sections, headers, etc. It is important to choose a typeface that works well in multiple sizes and weights to maintain readability and usability in every size. So if I show you an example about how users uh, come to a website and what are the devices they are using, let's say, let's go to one of our websites that we put tracker on. So in here, you can see the number of devices, how many users using mobile screens, like 86% of users, and some users are using PC, tablet, and so on. You can see the browsers and operating systems as well. So if I go to one of these, you can see how they interact in our website. Let's say I'm selecting this one. Okay, this one. Let's say. Okay, you can see that how users interact and what are their devices are even. So this user screen size is 390 to 670. So you have to consider when you are doing the design, you have to consider all these screen sizes as well. So let's say for an example, we have a website. Let's say we have this website. Mm, I'm going to switch this off. And one thing you can do is after you do your designs, after you code your website, you can go to responsive mode and see how your website perform in different screens. So let's say I'm using this device. So how you can do is you can click on your browser, even if it is a Mozilla Firefox or Safari, they have a same uh, steps that you have to follow. Click on inspect and it will give you this screen. So this is how it looks like in a mobile screen with 375 width and 67 height. And this is how it will look like in pixel and so on. So you can see how it will perform in certain websites or certain devices. So you can rotate your screen and see as well. And if you go to Galaxy Fold or anything, it will show up like this. So before you launch it live, you always have to make sure you run these tests and make sure it is working on every device that users will be using. Users might have different devices, so you can't make it optimized for the latest devices. Some of the users have very old devices. Specifically, if you are dealing with older generation, they don't like to change that much, so they are using the same device for so long. So you have to consider different screen sizes, small screen sizes, the browser supports, they supports, and you have to make sure that everything works smoothly on different devices and different browsers as well as different screen sizes. So button copy, fields, labels, and you have to make sure everything is in the perfect position and perfectly aligned and also perfectly fit in the different screen sizes users might be using. It is important to choose a typeface that works well in multiple sizes and weights to maintain readability and usability in every size. So as I mentioned, these are some typefaces that most of the users use. So in, let's say, most popular, so Roboto, Open Sans. So if you use one of these font typefaces, it will increase the readability and it will give users more freedom. They will read more content when comparing to if you use some other typefaces in your designs. And it will increase the usability as well. in every screen size we are using. So as I mentioned, this is the tool that I earlier mentioned. So you can see that this H1, H5, this can be the typefaces for different sizes. So in here, I have selected the inter font and the base size. Base size is the paragraph font that we are using is 12 pixels. So you can see it here. So if I change it to 14 pixel, it will give you a better view. So I'm going to change it to 14 and let's see how it will look like in desktop design. So this is how it will look like in desktop. If we use that font in our headers and uh, paragraphs. So this is how it will look like in mobile. So you can clearly see that it is very readable and nicely ordered as well. The hierarchy of the text is really nice and readable. All right. So that tool is already in our Google Classroom. So you can use it when you're selecting a font and deciding on font sizes to use on your interfaces next time. And the next thing, next good practice is to avoid all caps. Give me 1 second. Sorry about that. So we have to avoid all caps. All caps meaning the text with all the letters capitalized is fine in contexts that don't involve reading, such as acronyms or logos. But when your message involves reading, don't force your users to read all caps text. So if you are using the heading in all caps, it will decrease the readability. Even when someone is texting you in all caps, you don't like to read it that much, right? So even so for an example, my mother used to message with me in all text. So I know that I, there's people don't know how to toggle between the all caps and the things like that. So you have to maintain, even in your designs, you have to maintain readability by avoiding the use of all caps text. So it is actually very hard to read when you have all caps. And if you have like sentence case or lowercase text, it is really good to read. So it will increase the readability. So that is another thing that you have to consider when using typefaces in your designs. So all cap text. All capital print greatly retards the speed of scanning and reading in comparison with lowercase type. So as uh, even the same scenario, we used to read our books in sentence case or lowercase. If you are reading books like in novels and so on, where they have so many text in pages, they used to have simple like a lowercase text. So if you have like uppercase or uh, caps lock text, it is really hard to read when comparing to those. So it will, if you want to improve the readability of your design as well as give users good user experience, you have to use sentence case if it is a text-rich website. So if you try to read this here, capitalizing this particular part, it is actually you can't just scan it and read it. You have to manually put your attention to each of these characters and try to read it one by one. So if you try to read this kind of a text, it is really easy. You don't even have to consider each of these texts, because so you are so used to reading these kind of paragraphs, and you are used to these words as well. In comparing this, it is not that much of a readable text. Then don't minimize spacing between lines. In typography, we have a special term for the spacing between two lines of text, the leading or line height. So as I showed you here, so in Figma, we have line height as well. So you can increase and decrease line height to see how it performs. So let's say, so you can increase and see. So always a good practice to keep it as auto. Let's go back to our presentation. Increasing. Okay, by increasing the leading, you increase the vertical white space between lines or text, generally improving readability in exchange for your real estate. So when you are designing for a mobile or a design element, you have a very limited screen size, specifically in mobile devices. So you can't just like sacrifice your space to readability. Let's say for an example, I'm going to increase the uh, line height to 40. So not 40, let's say 20. So it is somewhat readable when comparing to paragraph below, because users can easily scan and differentiate between two lines, but it is taking so much of space on your screen. So you won't be able to put other things that is necessary to put on your screen. So always to make sure that you put auto, and the value is 15 here, but it is differentiate based on the typeface you're choosing and the font size that it is getting. So make it auto. All right. As a rule, leading should be about 30% more than the character height for good readability. So if the if the if this font size, the height is X, you have to make sure that line height is X plus 30%. So it will increase the readability. So when we are putting auto, we don't have to consider much about all of these. The Figma will do the job for you. Okay, if you compare this one is a good readability. It is readable as well as it is not taking that much of a real estate in y-axis as well. So if you put like too much of line height between your texts, it will easy to read, but you have to sacrifice your real estate of your screen. So it is not a good practice. This is too tight. Even though it is taking lesser space, it is really hard to read. So it won't do the job for you. So properly using white space between paragraphs has been proven to increase comprehension up to 20%, as pointed out by Dimitri Fedio. So he is a UX researcher. So if you are using uh, proper white space between paragraphs, so that we are talking about paragraph space now. So if you have good space between paragraphs, like these two paragraphs, say we have 10 here. Now if we put 20, it will give you more space. So it will increase the readability and productiveness of your screen. Increase the comprehension up to 20% as pointed out. So it will easier for users. So if they read first paragraph and then come to the second paragraph, they will see the difference. So we are reading the second one. Otherwise, if you don't have much space in between here, let's say we have 0 here, or let's say 10. So there's no much of a gap. So you can't differentiate by just looking at it. So let's try to play auto here. Auto is not working. So 20 is an ideal, but you have to consider your spaces between heading and paragraph, and paragraph space between the paragraphs, and also paragraphs and the buttons. So all things you have to consider when do a design. So it has to be uniform as well. So if you are giving more, you can actually give more space here because it is a heading and paragraph, and lesser space inside the paragraphs, each paragraph, and also give more space here. So uh, try to make it uniform, and it will give you more design aesthetics, as well as users will notice it when they visit to a website. The skill of using white space lies in providing your users with a digestible amount of content, then stripping away extraneous details. So if you are using good white space is, let's say, the space between your text elements and your components and so on. So if you have a good white space, even it is a black color, we call it a white space, but in order to make it more clear, I made it white color. So if you have a good white space between these elements, you can easily differentiate between each of these. So let's say we don't have that much of a white space, and we have this one here and even this button here. So you can't differentiate. It is not a good practice to uh, like pack everything up in a certain container and don't give it a much white space. So you have to make sure, in order to increase the readability, in order to make sure that users like your design and they follow your design patterns or what they want to do, by using this good white space like in between and around your elements. So you can see here the heading, subheading, and the paragraphs, they are kind of bind to in one particular container, but in here we have space. Like after the heading, we have some space, even after subheading, and even after this particular uh, description, we have space. So that is very readable when comparing to the one on your left-hand side. And another thing you have to consider when using typography, you have to make sure you have sufficient color contrast. So even though if you have good white space, and even though if you have good line height, if it is not readable, it is not contrasting, users won't be able to read it easily. So in here on the top example, the lines of the text do not meet the color contrast ratio recommendations and are difficult to read against their background colors. So the white color text with a lighter gray, it is really hard to read, and the same thing applies to this one as well. So when comparing to this is very readable. You can clearly see the difference. These lines of text meet the contrast ratio recommendations and are easy to read against their background colors. So even though this is white color, we are using darker version of gray. And this darker gray color has a lighter version of gray color as their foreground text. So this is easily readable when comparing to this. So that is another thing that you have to consider when you are doing designs. So this one. So if you try to let's say if you want to create a product for a travel industry, so it will give you the fonts based on that particular industry. So we can't use this font, so you can select what is the best font to give you the correct message, give users the correct message about this particular industry. All right. Now we have branding guide. Is it clear up until now? Do you have any questions about typography and the color usage of UI designs or anything? All right, we have branding guidelines versus style guide. So actually branding guidelines are clearly defined rules and standards that communicate how your brand should be represented to the world. Brand guidelines help businesses ensure consistency and demonstrate what the company is, what it does, and what it stands for. This Think of it as a brand rule book that centralizes the overall look and feel of your brand identity. So if I search for branding guideline of certain company, let's say they have PDFs, so web pages dedicated to their branding guideline. So in here, they have how to use their logo, how to use their website icons, and so on. Uh, and these brands. So this is how to use Apple reseller logo, how to use different logos, uh, how not to use them. So all these things, what are the minimum spaces between the text and the logo, and the uh, padding between the logo element and other elements in your design, and what is the typography you should use in certain diagrams. So these are some logos they use. And if we go to some other company, let's say, then they will tell you how to use their logo, how not to use their logo. So this is the lighter version of the logo, how you can use it horizontally. If it is a vertical space, how to use it, and what are the colors, the primary color palette, and the secondary colors that you should use, color bar, and what to avoid when using their logo. And these are the typography they are using, and the headline text should be this, and the headline bold should be this, and text, condensed text should look like this. And these are some don't do's with their logos. Do not add elements to the logo, and do not use do not change the color, do not stretch, and so on. So when you are doing your design for a company, let's say you have to do the branding guideline as well. So it is a new company, or they want to revamp their present logo. So what you can do is you have to first search about this particular company, and then you have to ask the owner or ask the potential users different questions. What is the message that they want to give their users by referring to this logo? How are they going to build the awareness about the brand? What is it about? What is the message? And things like that you have to consider when designing a logo. And then after that, you have to analyze your competitors as well. What are the competitors doing? What are the things that they are using in their logos? It don't have to be the local competitors. You can uh, search internationally as well. And then you can come up with an idea. You can sketch it out, and your logo should be meaningful. It should give present a meaning for users as well about this brand, some message that you try to give. So you have to make sure about that as well. And make sure you create, when you're designing a logo or a website, give them, if it is a new brand, give them a branding guideline, because every company, every established company, even they are starting their company, they should have a branding guideline. So they can follow the same uniform design and same colors, same typography, the same line height, same distance between text elements and the graphic. So it will increase the uniformity in their design. So users will notice it. If they're using different design, different colors, it is not good. So you have to be consistent with your design, even for brands as well. Okay. So it is actually a rule book for the designers. So let's say you create the branding guideline for your company, and then you have to find another job, and next designer comes into the company has to follow the same rules. Or even the social media managers who create Facebook posts or Instagram posts, they can't use the logo in their own way. They have to follow the guidelines. They have to use the logo as the design rules tell them. So that is a good practice, good uh, rule book for everyone to follow. A style guide is a document that UX designer creates to document a growing and ever-evolving set of design guidelines that arise from the design process. So style guide is something different. So I think I already showed you a style guide. Let me go back. Okay, this is something similar. In the design system, as I mentioned earlier, I followed atomic design. So in there, I created these atoms, the buttons, the logos, the basic elements of our design. So when the designer has to do some element or a new design, what they have to do first is they have to create the basic element. For example, let's say we need another button with different color. So you have to create it in your atoms section, and then you can style it in your molecules if you need it to be in different color, to have a different text, and so on. And finally, you can use it here. So the advantage of this is that you can just if there's anything that you have to change, let's say you have to change the color to different color shade, let's say green. So only thing you have to do is you can change the color to green here. So it will change all the other uh, representation of that particular color in all design. Even here, it will change the color. So it is a really good experience, and you can use these reusable components to maintain and create a style guide as well. So this is a style guide example. So the branding guidelines is different to style guide. So the UX designers have to make sure that they create these style guides and design systems when they are dealing with customers and taking on new projects. Okay, so why these branding guidelines and style guides are important for any product? As I mentioned, it is giving the consistency for every design element, even for the logo, the images, text, typography, colors, everything. We have written down, we have a documentation that everyone can follow. So it increases the consistency and it gives more consistency, even though it is not using within the team. Let's say you have outsourced your social media posts to some other company. So if you don't have a branding guideline, you have to tell them verbally, or you have to email them back and forth to do the changes. But if you can give them a branding guideline PDF or a website, they can also follow the same rules that your designer followed when they do the design. So it is giving you the consistency in your designs as well. Defining standards and usage. So as I showed you earlier, you can mention in your designs, this is how to use your logo. These are the spaces, these are the padding that we require. How many pixels should be there between the text and the logo? What are the colors? What should we avoid? What colors we should avoid? How much is the minimum size that we should use in the logo? How is the maximum size? So you have to make those standards and write them down in your branding guideline or a style guide as well. Next, it will be easier for the front-end developers to write their CSS and HTML by referencing all the important information and data. Find hex codes for colors easily. Reuse UI components, SVG files, and quickly find and extract any other assets that they may require. So if you have this kind of a layout, let's say we are sending this to front-end developer or the developer that who developing the website or a mobile application. What they can do is they can switch on the developer mode from here, and then they can see what is the length, what is the height, how much is the border or let's say select this element. So what is the display? All the CSS codes will be there, the background color and everything. They can quickly copy the hex codes as well. So they can copy hex codes from even here. So they have accent colors and you can copy the hex code from here. So it is a kind of like a library where users can refer to and get all the elements and all the properties of your elements easily in one place. SVG files and everything that you use in your design should be there in one particular file. We call it a style guide, or uh, in here design system. Next one will help the UX designer to craft responsive layout that fit the brand style. So when you have these kind of buttons in place, so it will help them. Like you can easily, let's say you want to create a new screen here. So what you can do is you can uh, easily create this screen. I'm going to hide this. All right. So this element, actually it is coming from the assets. So if we go to assets, you can select like what is the asset that we need as a header. Let's say I'm going to remove all this. I'm going to use this as my header. So if I put it there and okay, this is my header. Now the header is done, even for a new design. And if I want to add a card, like this kind of a stack of cards, we can paste it here and center it. So even if I have to do it again and again, it is really easy because I already have the design in place. I just have to drag and drop all the components I already created. So I don't have to like double check. I'm not doing any changes to this design. So the designs are uniform and it is consistent as well. So it will help. As a designer, it will help you to do the designs in really like you can develop them rapidly. As well as a developer, you can easily get the code for those designs and do your development rapidly as well. The social media managers can consult the document to use the same exact typeface, color palette, graphic assets to create a consistent social media feed. I already mentioned about that. Okay. Now we have UX laws. So I'm not going to cover UX laws and other things in this presentation today. So what I'm going to do is I already put the assignment on our Google Classroom. Let's go to our Google Classroom. All right. So this is the assignment that you, capstone project that you have to do at the end of your uh, course. So I have given 2 weeks deadline. So if you start today, you can like get it. The deadline is February 10th. So on February 11th, we have our final session where we're going to discuss about your designs, and you have to present your designs and tell what is your design thinking process and how you came up with these particular colors and the elements that you're using in website. You can tell them. It is actually about a mobile application. So let's read it. And if you have any questions, you can ask now or you can send a message on group chat. The objective of this project, the goal of this assignment is to prompt students to create a concept design for a travel experience app, focusing on user engagement and the intuitive interface within a 2 weeks time frame. So you have to create a travel experience application. So if I ask you what are the travel experience applications that you already know, uh, let's ask someone. Can someone tell or send a message? Any travel experience applications, computer applications that you already came across? Yes, it can be TripAdvisor or Booking.com. So you can follow those applications for your reference. So task description, you are a part of a design team working on a revolutionary travel experience app that connects users with personalized local experiences during their trips. Your task is to design the interface for this app, prioritizing ease of use, personalization, and engagement. So make sure that you are a part of a design team. Uh, so let's say you are a only designer in this team. What I want you to do is you have to come up with a one user story. So you don't have to think about every user that using this application. Let's say one user uh, using this application. So what he's trying to do is, let's say he's uh, trying to travel with his family. So you have to build up a story for that particular user. So only one user I'm expecting. So let's say uh, the person who wants to travel with their family. This person is uh, trying to travel during his vacation, and he's trying to travel in down south, like in beach areas or any other. So you have to give them recommendation about these are the activities that you can do in this particular area and what are the prices. And then finally you have to give them an option to select that particular uh, property and or experience. So you don't have to consider each and every user. Only one user story will be enough. So you have to prioritize ease of use, personalization, and engagement. Assignment guidelines. Brainstorm and outline the key features the travel experience app should offer. Consider user personalization, discovery, booking, and engagement. Draft a concept or user story to guide your design process. So the first one is you have to, even though you have to do a final design, you have to first come up with a user story. So in the user story, you have to mention this user will start the process by downloading this application and then go to this particular dashboard page and clicking on this particular entry or experience. And then they will read it. And then finally, they will click on buy or um book or some kind of a call to action button. And finally, you are showing them what they already selected. And finally, you are taking them to their cart. So that is one user experience that you can have, user flow. So you have to mention that in your diagram as well. You have to create a like draft wireframe where you have all these areas covered. For an example, as I mentioned, from the sign up process to the end goal. So I will give you some examples about how to create a wireframe and how to create a user flow diagram after I read in this thing. So it will be easier for you to do your designs. Then create low fidelity wireframes illustrating the layout and flow of the app. Focus on user interaction, information hierarchy, and ease of navigation. Okay, after you create the basic user flow, you have to create a wireframes. You can just use a pencil and paper and send a, like when you are submitting it, you can just take a picture and put it in Google Drive, or even you can submit in Google Classroom. And use Figma as a preferred design tool to craft your high fidelity design for app interface. Emphasize visual appeal, consistent design language, and intuitive user interactions. So when after you're done with your wireframe, you have to do your designs. I'm not expecting you to do a low fidelity design. You can just go to high fidelity design because you don't have much time. So you can do high fidelity design and present it to class on 10th, 11th actually. Develop an interactive prototype of the app designed to showcase its functionality and user flow. Prepare a short presentation outlining the app's concept, key design elements, and walkthrough of the interactive prototype. Explain how design enhances the travel experience. So after you create your prototype, you have to after you have to create a prototype, interactive prototype where users can click through your designs and achieve their goal. So I'm not expecting you to create a slideshow or anything. You just have to share your screen and tell me what is your design thinking behind this? What are the colors that you have chosen? What is the ideas behind those? What is the rationale? What is the typeface that you are using? How you expect that your user to behave, and so on. All right. This is the evaluation criteria. So we will evaluate based on concept and ideation, originality of the travel app, and concept and consideration of user needs, wireframes, clarity and logic illustrating the app's layout of user flow, UI design, application of design principles, visual appeal and consistency in the high fidelity designs, prototype and pitch, functionality and coherence of the interactive prototype, as well as the quality and clarity of pitch presentation. Okay, finally, this assignment challenges students to apply their UI and UX skills to create an engaging scenario, focusing on designing a user-friendly travel experience app that reflects both innovative thinking and user-centered design. So these are the deliverables. You have to share Figma link, as well as if there's any supporting material like wireframes or design sketches or photographs, you can attach them to your submission as well. So when you're submitting, these are the people that I have assigned this to. So if you don't sign up with Google Classroom, please refer to your emails and sign up as well. So let's try to create this kind of a layout in Figma today. How many minutes we have? We have about 30 minutes. All right, I'm going to use the same file. So the first thing you have to do is you have to, we are doing a mobile design. So let's come up with a mobile screen for that. So I'm going to use this as my design. So the first thing, so after you sketch them out, let's say you have to follow the UX design process as well. So you have to first search about what users will expect. So you can't interview anyone. So you have to use your own experience, and you have to ask some of your friends what they think about travel experience apps and how they expect them to behave. What are their expectations? Uh, what are the good things that they like about these applications? What are the bad things that they consider that should not be there? So you have to ask those questions and get an idea about their experiences and maybe your own experience as well. So after you do that, you can empathize with your users. For an example, let's say I only want you to create a one user story. So you can empathize with that particular user. It even can be yourself. So you are the one who is the only user of this application. So you can empathize with yourself and create the user story and create the wireframes based on that as well. So before you creating the wireframes, you have to go through the competitors. One of the competitors might be TripAdvisor, then another one is Booking.com, and there are so many other travel experience applications out there. You can refer to them as well. So after you do those competitor analysis as well as your research and empathize with the users, you have to come up with the UX strategy. So I'm not expecting you to do a UX strategy and present it to you, present it to the classroom next week, but I'm just telling you the process, the ideal process that you should follow when you are doing the design. So after you come up with the UX strategy, so these are the things that I learned from my user research. These are my target users. This is the problem that I'm trying to solve for those users. What are the limitations? What are the obstacles that I will face during this project? And what are my priorities? What options should be there? And what are the good to have options? So can I do it within 2 weeks? So those things you have to consider when you come up with a UX strategy. After that, let's say you collected your data, like you know about your users and you can empathize with your users. You did your competitor analysis with at least two competitors, and also you have a good UX strategy, and then start off with your wireframes. So in the wireframes, take a pencil and paper and do a quick sketch about how you expect your dashboard to perform, how it should look like, what is the hierarchy, what are the elements that should be there. And then you can do more add more elements to your wireframes as well. You can create experience screen, you can create profile screen, you can create submit screen and other screens as well. So another thing you can do is you can create onboarding experience. So for an onboarding experience, let's say, okay, you can create this kind of layout. So it will describe what users can do with your application. You can add a quick text like this and illustration maybe, and it will give an idea to your users what they can expect from this particular application. So that should come first before users log into the system. So you can do something like that as well. So after the onboarding experience, you can do the login screen, and then you can consider the process after user visiting the dashboard. And finally, it should be end with users booking or in their booking within the system. After entering their card details or just a book now button will be enough. And finally, after do the wireframes, you have to do your high fidelity prototype using Figma. So I'm going to do some high fidelity designs using Figma. I don't have a wireframe right now, so I just think and do the design as it comes to my mind. So first thing I have to do is I'm going to create the dashboard where users come soon after they log into the system. So in dashboards, let's Google something. Well, app dashboard. Here. So we can consider this kind of layout. So I'm going to take this as an example, and I'm going to create elements in this design. Now, the first thing we need to do is we need to create this greeting and the user icon. So what we can do is we can create this, and as I see it, I can think that the font is Poppins. So we can use it as font. So if you are not sure about the font, so let's say if you try to copy some font from website, what you can do is you can just take a screenshot of that particular font and search for what the font, and it will give you this kind of a website. You can upload the image here. It will give you all the similar fonts in that particular category. So as a Google font, I'm using the similar font, which is Poppins. I'm going to create those two as two elements because the username might be dynamic when we are implementing it. So I'm going to create it as two different elements. Give it a different color. Okay. So I'm going to change the color of this to more darker version and this one to more lighter version, but in blue shade. Okay, let's say these two colors. All right. change the font size to 24, and then I'm going to frame them. So if we frame them, and we can call this frame greeting. So always make sure you put meaningful names for your groups, for your frames actually. So when you are doing design, always make sure you frame your elements. Don't try to group. Group is actually for the graphic designs and so on. If you need like auto layout or responsive design using Figma, always use this frame selection. Don't use group selection. So you will see the difference when I try to do the designs. So this is the greeting, and I have to create this user profile icon now. So I'm not going to use the image for that. So what I can do is I can go to my plugins. So in the plugins, there is a plugin called material symbols, where we have all these symbols that Google have here. So let's go to fonts.google.com. All these symbols, we have a Figma plugin for that as well. So this is the Figma plugin. So when you, if you don't have it, you just have to click on this run button. It will install in your Figma as well. So I'm going to use the plugin I already have, this one. So it will give you this kind of a layout. So in here, I'm going to search for the user icon, this user icon. So it will paste it here. So I'm going to copy it and paste it right here. Close this one. And maybe I can increase the size of that to 48 pixels each side. All right. So now this is the design we have. Okay. You can create a grid layout as well, like just I did, and do your design. So got a 20 stretch. Okay, now we have this kind of design. So it will give me a braid line in between those two axes as well. 20, and then in here also the width is 430. 430 minus 20 is 14. So we are not going to put anything past that two lines that I just drew. So this one should start from here, and this one should end from here. Okay. Now this is a one line, so I'm going to make another frame for that. Frame selection. I'm going to bring it as header. Okay. Now I'm going to apply auto layout for that. So if we apply auto layout, now we have 430 is the width, as you can see from here. So we have 20 pixels from each side is left for our padding space. So what we can do is we have 430, 430, and we can minus 40. And this is the width that we require for our middle design. Okay. Now it is perfectly aligning between those two lines. Okay. In the auto layout, what we can do is we can put the auto layout, and 390 is our width. And we put this, let's say we have 10 as our line, like gap in between elements here. So in order to make it like stretch between whole x-axis, whole division, what we can do is we can change this value right here, horizontal gap between elements, to auto. So it will take the whole x-axis width in that particular container. So it will look like this. Okay, so that is auto layout in Figma. And if you want to add padding or anything, you can use this horizontal spacing and vertical spacing as well. The next thing we have to do is we have to create this search bar. In order to create the search bar, I'm going to create a text again. Search here. And change the font size to 18 maybe. And then text color is this. I use the same text color where we have already having this one. So it is the same color. So I'm going to create this outer uh, division as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to frame this frame selection and then put a fill color. The white color is my fill color. And let's give this background the same color that this one have. So something a little lighter gray. Use this color. And I'm going to hide this for a while. And we have search here button here. And what we can do is we can then give the same width head. So we have 390 as our width. And then put auto layout and then add 15 pixels as x-axis spacing and another 15 as y-axis spacing. So let's change this color to much darker shade until we finish it so you can easily see what I'm doing. Okay, now we have a similar search bar, but we have to change its design. So I added a corner radius, so it will give the corners 30 pixels of radius. Then what we can do is we can use our material design plugin to look for this search icon. So it's not similar to that, but we will find a search icon, something that we can use in our design. So let's use this search icon. Okay. Now I'm going to put it, I'm going to rename it as search bar. And this we have text and then we have the icon here. I'm going to change the color of icon to normal gray color we already have. So we have the header text as well as the search bar. So in the search bar also, I'm going to give it a same width that I gave to the earlier one. And make it auto. So it will look like this. So in order to have this kind of a gray background for that, we can change the fill of this and we can put it inside a frame and we can give a fill to that particular frame. Now it will look like this. So we have to add a corner radius. Let's add 100 because we need it to be a circle, and add some padding as well. Let's say 5 by 5. Something like this. All right. Now we have the design. I'm not going to like go in detail and change the colors, so you can change the colors and add shadows or anything like that from here. So I'm going to create the hierarchy and the components of this. So the next thing is we have to create this slider. So in order to create that slider, we have to create a component. So this sticker component, this card should be there. That is the basic component in this slide. So in order to create that, what we can do is we can create this kind of a frame first, and then we give it a border radius. Let's give 30, and it will look like this. And let's give an effect of drop shadow as well, and give it 0. This is blur is also 0. Color will keep the same. All right, now we have our card. Let's call it a card, and inside the card we have an image. So what we can do is we can copy the same card and paste it for our reference, and then create an image inside this. In order to create an image, I'm going to do the same things. Create a frame. So inside this frame, change the fill color to something different. Let's say this one. So we can differentiate and give it a same border radius as this. Let's rename this as image 30. So you can see that these ends are not aligning correctly. So even though it is 30 pixels, it is not aligning correctly. So I will tell you the issue and I will tell you how to fix it when we do the design. So width of this element is actually 200 pixels, and now this one is let's say 180. Okay. Now we are going to paste some image here. Let's say be this one. You can just select whatever the object that you want your image to be and just paste it. I'm not going to take keyboard shortcut, so you can see paste here. So it will paste your image inside that particular division. So you can resize your image to match your design. So always make sure you use your shift key when resizing your images. Otherwise it don't maintain the aspect ratio it already have. So this is the image that we have. All right. And then we have this text as well, Madagascar and some other description text. So in order to create that text, I'm going to copy this one because I already have that in my text. So this is the image. This can be the description. It should align with the image as well. So I'm going to change the font size to 18 and maybe change it to medium. All right, and then we have another text. I'm going to copy and paste it right here and change the font size to 14. And then I change the price. So price is 2 lines again. So I'm going to put another text for our dynamic content, which is the actual price. let's say, okay. And this can be a auto layout. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to frame it and we'll call it a price and use auto layout from here and use the width of this one 180 and make this auto so it will align nicely. All right, now we have this and this. I'm going to change the color of this to something different and change the color of this to the same color and just use. Right. Okay. Now this is the sorry design element we already have. Now in order to give it like auto height, I'm going to do is I'm going to put auto layout so it will uh, take the height of the content inside of it. So let's say I have 10 pixels between these and 10 pixels in the height as well. So it has the padding or the in the x-axis and y-axis the same padding. All right. So I need to give more padding for the like uh, for this one. The bottom padding needs to be more. So I want to change it to 20. So it has more bottom padding now in comparing to that one. Okay, this is the layout that we have designed and I want to change the padding to like perfectly match this. Like it is not actually matching, the curves are different. So in order to do that, so what we can do is, let's say we have 200 pixels is the width. This is 180 and 30, 20. Okay, what you can do is when you have, let's say, uh, the 200 pixels is the width of your outer division, outer element. And in the inner element, it has 180. So the difference is 20 pixels. So this side is 10 pixels and this side is 10 pixels. So when you give in the padding or the uh, border radius in the like topmost one, it has 30 as border radius. So this one has 20. You have to remove one of these sides. Like let's say if this is 10 pixels, you have to reduce that. You have to remove 30. From 30, you have to remove that 10 pixels in order to make this match our design. So this is how it look like right now. So this is our card. So now we have to create this reusable component. Let me show you how to do that. So we select this card and I'm going to create a dark version as well for your reference. Okay, now let's say this is our dark version. So in the dark version, I'm going to change the background color to this and the remain text color to white and this one to uh, white and this gray color to much lighter version. Okay, this is our dark mode. So this is not the exact design, but it will do the job. So this what I'm going to do is I'm going to select these two now and then go to this and click on create component set. So it will create a card component. So property 1, I'm going to change it to dark mode. Or let's say card type and make it the recommendation card. So that is the card type. These cards are different type. So after doing that, let's create another property. variant dark mode. First one is false because it is a light version, and the second one, dark mode, should be true because it is the dark mode. So now we have this card component right here. Now we can create this scrollable layout. So in order to do that, let's copy this heading, call it recommendations, recommendations, and go to assets and search for card. So we only have the card components here, so we can drag and drop it right here. Now we have a card component. And you can see the sizes are different. So if you want to reduce the size, you can reduce by changing the size of your component as well. So I'm not going to do that because it will also take some time. So you can change the sizes from these elements as well. So if you want the dark mode, you can quickly toggle this as toggle icon to achieve the dark mode. All right, now we have a layout with a one card on it. So we need more of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it and put it this somewhere and focus on this. Okay, we need more of this. Say we need 5 cards. Now we have 5 cards, but we can't see them because all of these are in the same position. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create and make it a frame and frame inside, and let's call it a scroller because it should be scrollable horizontally, and then give it a auto layout. So it will show all the cards inside. So if I remove the clip content, so it will visible all the cards inside that particular frame. So in order to give it some space between each element, I'm going to change this horizontal gap between items to 10. So it will give us some space between each of these elements. All right, now we have our elements in a one line, the 5 elements actually. So what we can then do is we first have to switch on the clip content. So this is the content that it will show. Now to make it scrollable, we are going to select it and then make sure to put it right here. So we need it to scroll from beginning to right till the end, not to this line, but right to the edge of our frame. So I made it up until here. The scroller, if I change the color of the scroller, you can see it is from here to here, the one highlighted in red color. So I'm going to remove that red color. So make it scrollable. What you can do is you can go to prototype. You have to first select your element, the scroller, and go to prototype. And then here we have options. Scroll with parent, no scrolling, and so on. So we have to select overflow horizontal because we need it to scroll horizontally, and scroll with parent. Okay, just keep it as it is. And then if we go to this layouts prototype by clicking on this play icon right here, we have to wait for a little while. And you can see that it is scrollable. So it is this is horizontal scrolling. So how you can achieve it. So if you give a small gap between here and the layout, it won't take till the edge of the screen. So this is how we create a horizontal layout. So you can create that kind of a design for this one as well. So let's say you need to have a vertical scrolling as well. You can do the same thing. So let's say you have a similar design. the destinations. Now another one. Before that, we actually have to group these two. So I'm going to put this in a frame. Say items. And another one right here. I'm going to paste another one right here. And then I'm going to put all these inside another frame as well. Intent. Go to design, auto layout, change the gap to 20. So you can see by this. So these are all the elements in y-axis as well. So we can do the same thing that we did for x-axis scrollable bar. You can drag it and drop it right here, and then click on the clip content, and then go to prototype and on the vertical scroll. So if we go here and try to scroll through, we'll scroll vertically as well as horizontally. Okay, that is how we create that kind of a horizontal and vertical bars. And also how to create component also I mentioned. So if you have any questions when you are doing your designs during this week, you can send me a message on WhatsApp group chat. I will send you an answers to your questions as well, or you can just send me an email as I mentioned in Google Classroom as well to this email address. So is there any questions from today's session in theory or in Figma? Achinta, any questions?
No, sir, I'm good.
Okay. How about Charuni?
No, sir.
Okay. How about Veeravardhana? All right. How about Rifat? Okay, Rifat is asking a question. After copying the same element, can we change the description and images? Yes, you can. I will show you how to do that as well. So if you need to change your image of this, what you can do is you can select the image from here. So the image is the one already selected, and then you can go to travel images and you can copy whatever the image you like. Let's take this one for an example. Want to be a contrasting one. Let's take this one. You can paste it here. So it will change the image. And if you want to change the text, let's say you change it to this, and even the price you can change. Is it clear, Rifat? Now, who else is there? Nadika is also asking a question. For the assignment, roughly how many screens should we submit? So roughly, I can't give you it, can be under 10 actually. So the basic screens should be there. It can be the onboarding process where we give information to users how to, what they can expect from our system, and the logins or registration screen should be there. And then dashboard or a landing page screen should be there, and maybe one or two more screens. So basically 5 to 6 screens will be enough. Is it clear? Yeah, onboarding screen, login screen, dashboard, booking screen. So if you can do more screens, it will be great, but those are actually required, mandatory. Okay, cool. How about Nadisha?
I'm okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, cool. So I think we can wrap up the session for today. So during this week, if you do the exercise, if you do the assignment, please send a message if you have any questions or if you have any roadblocks. So I will try to answer so we can move forward. If there's anything that you didn't learn regarding the Figma design or anything, try to learn them by following YouTube videos or anything. If there's any question, you can always contact. But self-learn is the best way to go. But I will be always here to guide you through if you have any questions during the assignment as well, or even regarding the theory. So that's it for today. We'll meet up next week, same time. Have a nice day then. Bye bye.
Thank you.